Hello, everybody. Welcome to our day 2 roundtables. Today, we have the pleasure of having with us the co-founders and members of BMAC, the Black Music Action Coalition. Music Biz has been fortunate enough to have a number of these folks on our events in the past. It's always been a pleasure to hear what they are doing, their goals, how they're moving things forward, and I'm so excited to be sitting in on this roundtable today and learning even more because things are moving fast and these folks really have their ducks in a row and are pushing those things forward. So I'm very interested to hear where things came from the last time that I sat in on a conversation like this. So I think you're all in for a great treat today. Thank you, Cassie, for moderating. Thank you, BMAC, for being part of this. And I'm going to mute myself and I'm going to turn it over to Cassie to get y'all started.
Awesome. Hi, my name is Cassie Petrie, and I'm the co-founder of a company called CrowdSurf. We do digital marketing for a lot of different artists and have offices in New York, Nashville, and Los Angeles. And my involvement with BMAC in our companies is doing digital marketing and creating a lot of the assets that you see on social media and that kind of thing. And today I'm very excited because we're in the room with a ton of brilliant people who are really doing amazing things to make changes and educate people. And I've already learned so much from this organization, and I'm excited to learn more today and just very grateful for the opportunity. So let's go ahead and introduce everyone from the BMAC team that is in the room today, and we'll start with Prophet and go from there.
Of course, we went through this drill for the last 30 minutes, and when it's time to press play, I mess it up. But thank you, Music Biz. Thank you, Cassie. Thank you, CrowdSurf, for all of the support that you have given BMAC from the inception of the organization. For those who don't know, all of the posts that you see us post, all of the graphics that we push out in terms of our messaging is all produced by CrowdSurf, and they do that work pro bono. Cassie came to us when we first started the organization and wanted to know how her company can help us build and grow and amplify our message. So in addition to working on the actual assets, her company works closely with us on strategies in terms of when to post, how to post, what would be the most effective post. So it's not just the creation of the assets, but also the logistics on how to actually amplify the message. So thank you for that. I'm Prophet. I'm the CEO of 50/50 Music Group, a management company, and I'm also co-founder of an organization called Breathe With Me Revolution, and I am the co-founder and co-chair of Black Music Action Coalition. And I will pass the mic to LaRon.
Hello, everybody. My name is LaRon Rogers. I'm a practicing attorney over 20 years, representing entertainers and celebrities and influencers, both on the talent side and on the brand side. I got involved with BMAC partly because Prophet made the call, made me aware of it. But then personally, my mission in the business also aligns with another organization that I'm involved with and the president of, the Black Entertainment Sports Lawyers Association, where we really want to facilitate economic and decision-making parity for the legal and creative talent community.
Awesome. And then maybe we want to go to Amina.
Hi, my name is Amina Diop. I'm CEO of the Diop Agency, which is an entertainment management firm, and I am also Senior Vice President of A&R at Republic Records, UMG. And I decided to be involved with BMAC just because I have wonderful friends and the founders and the participants in it. We developed a great fellowship, and we all have the same goal, which is to help empower our people.
Amazing. And then let's go to Max.
Hi, my name is Max Goose. Thank you for having me. I am the CEO of Artistry Group, which is a full service record label, talent management company, as well as social media influencer management and creative services for many of the labels. We produce a lot of content, a lot of the social media content that you see on IG. That's one of our specialties. I joined BMAC primarily because I felt that there was definitely a lack of executive training for people of color in the music business. And as an executive, as a 30-year executive with my own company, I pride myself on definitely developing the next generation of executives. So I joined BMAC to see if I can kind of scale those initiatives to create a real pipeline of young, talented executives for the future of the business.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And then to Courtney.
Hello. Thank you for having us. My name is Courtney Stewart. I'm the co-founder of Keep Cool, a record label that is in conjunction with RCA Records. And we look after Normani, Lucky Day, Van Jess, Freddie Gibbs, Mad Libs, and a ton of other artists. And I also have a management company, Right Hand Management. I look after Khalid, Sinead Hartnett, and a lot of other young talented artists. BMAC is something that I'm very passionate about. And it was cool because it was organically a team of managers, attorneys, lawyers that are in the business, and we do business together. But we all were aligned on, making change within our own business to help raise awareness to systemic racism that goes on within the music business, being able to stand up for minorities, and also utilizing our artists and our roster's voice. And that's been one of the great things, because our business is very competitive, but this has been a team that has thrown the competitiveness out of the window to work together for a great cause. And then it also helps you to build relationships with your colleagues that aren't competitive. And it's just to help everyone move forward and to push culture forward.
Incredible. Thank you so much for that. I think that a lot of us in this room are familiar with what, BMAC is at its core, but, Prophet, if you want to give like the proper pitch and explanation for it for everyone here, I think that would be incredibly insightful.
Sure. I briefly describe it. Post George Floyd death, the music industry came together to try and figure out how can the voices be used in a truly effective way. So it started with a conversation with about 15 people on the phone on a Zoom call, really just trying to pick each other's brains on solutions and ways that we can use our influence and the influence that our artists have to impact this issue in a real way. So out of that grew BMAC, which is over 200 of the biggest artists, lawyers, music execs, managers in the world that have come together with one mission, which is to eradicate, if you will, systemic racism within the music industry and society as a whole. And so we have been working in a very real way with most of the task force that has been established at the major labels. We have met with all of the chairmen. We have met with a lot of the companies surrounding the ecosystem, and our initiatives are being taken extremely seriously. And we are actually very proud of the traction that we're getting. One of the things that I would tell you guys is that we're working with Harvard to do a deep dive study into the music industry and really dig up this thing and at the root of it, and understand that racism is kind of baked into this music business as it relates to Black people. And if we're truly looking to eradicate it, if we're truly looking to kind of bridge that gap, then we have to have a real understanding of where we at with this thing. So we are conducting this study, and we hope in the next few months to present our findings. And in that presentation will also be ideas of how we move past it, right? How we get to a point where we can actually close these gaps and move towards this promise that this country has made to Black people. And more importantly, understand the power of music and the power of the artists, and allowing them to have a platform to find their activist voice and the covering to do so. So we're very proud of what we're doing. We have a tremendous amount of initiatives going around voting. But even beyond voting, we have a serious post plan that we're going to be rolling out, because now that we all kind of politically astute right now, it's about understanding this thing and making it part of the culture so we can impact state and local elections and kind of make this thing more relevant to the day-to-day lives of the average person. So I'm extremely excited about the work that BMAC is doing. We have the board, which consists of Courtney Stewart, who's a founding member and vice chair. We have Sean Holliday, we have Binta Brown, we have Karen Veazey, and Ashana Ayers and Jamel Davis and Courtney, Damian Smith are the board of directors. Our executive leadership council expand the spectrum, and everyone from LaRon to Amina to Max are all part of the executive leadership council. We have Zach, who manages Selena Gomez and Jennifer Anderson. We have Danny, who manages Billie Eilish. We have Riley Rich, so we have the spectrum of the music industry that's participating, and we're very excited about where we're going. Last thing I will mention, in addition to BMAC and our initiatives, we form what we call the Black Excellence Techs, and we have the brightest and most successful Black managers on a group text, and for the first time, we are exchanging ideas, and we are helping and assisting each other in growing our businesses and helping push our artists, which is something that we hadn't done before. It's always been only one of us can make it, only two of us, can be at the table. But now we have kind of broken that mirror down, and we all at the table having great conversations on how we can grow each other's business and support each other. So I'm extremely proud of the work we've done and more inspired about what we're going to do in the future.
That's absolutely incredible. And I feel like I don't know, hearing everything that you all are working on and that BMAC's done just in a short amount of time truly is really incredible. And I'm excited to see what the next months and years hold. Something else I'd love to hear from some of the other panelists is, what made you all want to get involved with BMAC? Like what inspired you, and what are some of your goals within the organization?
I think we already kind of touched that the first time.
Yeah.
We already kind of touched on that, but I don't know if anyone wants to expand.
I mean, what really inspired me was the fact that, I've been in the business pretty much about 30 years now, and I really haven't seen any real change in the actual structure. I haven't seen any real systems in place to help young executives reach their maximum potential. The same executives that I came into the game admiring, they're the same CEOs. There hasn't been a change of the guard at all. Even though we account for, I would say, about 40% of the streaming income, it's not reflected in the boardrooms at all. And I really want to make a change. I really want to be part of that change so that the next generation has it better, because it's a very good career. And I would love for my brothers and sisters to be part of it, honestly.
Yeah, if I can add some, I mean, one of the things that I've seen personally and through my work with Beasla is that there has been some change, but the change has been less Black executives, right? Less, there's no Black music division any longer. And unfortunately, a good number of the people who actually make the decisions over budgets and which projects are greenlit are not people who are in the culture, not people who look like me and Prophet and Amina, right? And so that has an effect, has a ripple effect on the type of music that gets out, the ones that get supported. I mean, we've all been in rooms where we looked at each other like, y'all really gonna support this? Like, you know what I mean? Because they want to do it because it sounds like something else, but it's not great music. And I think we all got in the music business because we love great music. There's nothing like that goosebumps when you hear fantastic music. And so, we need to get laser focused on having collectivism, like Prophet said. That was great to hear that the managers are getting together, because collectively, it's really the managers that break artists and actually start their career, not the record labels. So if the managers get together, that force is going to be a wrecking, because then you can you can determine the economics, because then we can have a conversation and say, you know what? This label has not been supporting our initiatives. So guess what? I'm not taking my artists to that label. That's when we have true power, and that's where we have to get to. And that's why I think BMAC has the ability, if we collectively come together, to change the narrative.
You hit the nail on the head, LaRon. That collective bargaining, right? We just, as a culture, as Black people, and there's 1,000 reasons for that. We all know we don't move as one, right? We don't move, but that unified force is like undeniable, and there really isn't anything we couldn't do when we're united. So the collective bargaining that artists have, forget about it. You know, I just read today on Hits Daily Double that UMG is going to do their IPO in 2022. Now, how many Black artists are going to be a part of that?
Zero.
You know, where's how does that, although what is how much Black music impact that bottom line? You know, so we have to start having serious conversations, but you post and say you stand in solidarity with your Black brothers and sisters in the wake of George Floyd, but you are allowing the same systemic racist practices that exist in society live and breathe within the music business. So you can't be serious about Black lives. Actually, you care about that if you don't care about the Black employee, or care about the Black executive, or care about the Black artist. So to LaRon and to Max's point, the power we have collectively is undeniable, and the ideas that we use that now in a way that's going to impact change, and not just from a rhetoric standpoint, from a policy and systemic standpoint.
Correct.
You know, and we're not trying to, we understand that this is the business of music, right? And we all have been doing business in the music industry for a good while. So I don't want to confuse, you know, our laser focus with, you know, attempting to disrupt the making of money, because we all understand that that has to happen. But what we want to just see is, you know, a leveling of the field in which to get entry, right? And that's all we want. We all know once we get in there, it's a wrap. We're going to handle our business. So it's about leveling the playing field to get an entry into the marketplace on the business side, because we've already been running it on the talent side for a long time. But until you get on the business side, we really don't have the control.
Well, when you deal with the fact that the first African-American recording artist is an ex-slave, right? So 1865, the first record is released, and this is the ex-slave. So with that being the inception of the relationship between Black people in this music business, and nothing has changed systemically since then, you know, we're not trying to disrupt the money. We just want to make sure that the money is properly distributed to those who culture is producing the money.
Correct.
Absolutely. And I think that makes so much sense. And to be fair, I think that leveling, you know, the playing field and putting people who understand the culture in it, I think that probably actually end up making more money. It's not even about disrupting it. I think it's going to create more money for everyone, probably is you know how I sort of see that at first glance. But, you know, this kind of leads into my next sort of question I had for you all is, you know, how are you feeling about, you know, the meetings that you're doing within the music business? Are those feeling good? Or is it feeling, you know, productive? How do you just feel about the state of the music business right now in general, and the initiatives that you're trying to accomplish and educate people about?
I think Courtney can speak to this a little bit as well, but I will say that two things. One, let's start here. When we met with all of the task force, right? For one, salute to the task force that exists in these music companies that came in wake of the George Floyd. You have some of the most brilliant Black minds on the executive side putting together real initiatives that, from a BMAC standpoint, we want to make sure it actually happens, right? So we want to make sure that we use our power and our leverage with the chairman to empower those initiatives that the task force has developed, which were aligned with the initiatives that BMAC has. So we were very encouraged by that. Secondly, we've had meetings with, like I said, the ecosystem. So the Spotifys and the YouTubes and the agencies. You know, we're going to announce over the next week or so, you know, these various beautiful partnerships that we have developed. and the agencies have been tremendous in their support of BMAC's initiatives. So to the point, they're leading our Black Music Matters campaign, which is the fund that we're raising that have 4 areas. One is a direct COVID relief fund for Black creatives. Second is the funding of artist-run organizations and real NGOs on the ground that's doing the work. Many people don't know that we identify over 25 artist-run foundations that are run by artists that are doing the work that need funding. So we want to make sure that we're able to fund that. We have an internship and executive training program that we're implementing that we want funding for. And also the last is mental health. One of the things that we need to do, especially in the Black community, is destigmatize counseling and the whole mental health idea. We all going through hell in this country. So all of us on some level need some therapy. So those are the 4 pillars that we are putting, we put together in the Black Music Matters campaign, and the agencies were one of the first to step up to donate to that. And we will make our announcement over the next week, but the labels are coming in, the DSPs are coming in. I'm very encouraged by the conversations, but I'm not, that's not enough to take take the pressure off. You know, the idea is the conversations are great, but the action and actually moving to a place of seeing the change is what I'm anticipating.
And also, in the wake of George Floyd, there were a lot of pledges that were made from a lot of record labels and companies throughout the music business, and it was important for us to step in to hold them accountable to that, and not only making a one-time pledge, but we understand that in order for change to happen, it's about the marathon and not the sprint. So we want these commitments to be seen through, but we also want long-term commitments, and we also want to make sure that this money is going into the underserved communities that need them, that they are in a line with the artists that we represent and their foundations and what they are doing within the community, and also really helping out the grassroots organizations throughout the country, because a lot of the larger nonprofit organizations, they have a ton of resources and a ton of support, but in the communities throughout Atlanta, where I'm from, and a lot of people that sit on the board there are a lot of grassroots organizations that are really in the communities, but don't have the resources and don't have the support. So our mission is to help to fill that gap, because, like Prophet said, we do have leverage by representing all this great talent, and because we're a unified front, we can utilize our talent's voice and the partnerships that we have with publishing companies, with record labels, and touring companies to make sure change is brought on, once again, not in the wake of George Floyd, but also in the next decades to come.
No, that's spot on. And one of the things that I want to mention are the beautiful partnerships. One of the beautiful partnerships that have come out of our development of BMAC is the partnership we have with Beasler, which LaRon is the president of. It was important for us to connect with the Black lawyers, because these are the people that represent Black talent a lot, not just Black talent, but a lot of times Black artists would go to a Black lawyer who think you understand me more, or have a better sense of protection, even in some areas. But a lot of times, if the system is broken, then it kind of puts Black lawyers in a situation where, they can't fix it without artists and everyone else saying, okay, let's do something different. So it was important that there was a real relationship between BMAC and Beasler, so that the agendas were aligned. So as we begin to dismantle this thing, that there's a legal apparatus that's there to support us, and that artists understand these people are not just here for a check or going to walk you into, sign your rights away, but we're going to create a system where you're going to be able to get the proper legal representation, so your business is structured, not just for today, but for tomorrow. And that's the part that has been missing when it comes to our culture. We get the deals today, but there's nothing to leave to our families if it hadn't been stolen or given up in the deal from the inception. So we just need all of those pieces tied up. As we talked about true emancipation from this idea of this slave system, we have to have that legal piece in place. So the partnership with Beasley is extremely important to us. I just want to note that.
I think something else that I think is so important about BMAC is that, yes, that we're trying to hold the outsiders or others accountable for their actions, but it also allows us to hold ourselves responsible for our actions. Because I know I'm gonna act like I haven't been guilty of it, but as a manager and an executive, you're so busy through your day to day, you find yourself so concerned about your artists and like your families and this and that, that sometimes you don't have your hand outstretched for your fellow executive or your fellow, person that really needs your help, that's really trying to, like in our organization, it's like, it's just a matter of a text, in a group text, and there's so many willing participants. And what's very important to me is the fellowship. You know what I mean? There's nothing that can't be done because it's all of us. Like, who knows this person? Like, oh, well, hold on, let me, you know what I mean? So I feel like that's super important that we hold ourselves accountable too, because while we, as a people, and just people in general, it's easy to place blame, but then you have to turn around and look at ourselves too. And I really enjoy the fact that we're held, we can hold each other accountable. And I think that that's very special because that's where it starts.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a really good point. And I just think that we all have to hold each other accountable across the board and to move things forward. And I just think that everything that everyone said is absolutely amazing. And, I think that you all really captured and educated me on some of the things that are, going on in the music business right now. But how are you feeling about other businesses, or just the state of what's going on in the world in general and any progress there?
Well, I would say that, I grew up as an activist, that's why I started at 13, and I was young, and all my friends was wild older than me. And it seemed like in my classroom or in high school, it was only one or two of us talking like this, right? This wasn't the general conversation. What I love about what's happening now is every room that I go into, this is the conversation, right? Every industry, every corporation, the conversation is, where are you at in terms of racism? And let's have this in a very real way. Are you accepting the white privilege and not doing anything about it and just saying that I have 2 or 3 Black friends? Or are you out there actually fighting racism to a point where it bothers you that there's others that don't have the same privileges in this country as you, who built this country, right? And so the music industry is a reflection of society. So this exists in every industry, from film to fashion, to corporate America. Think about how many Black CEOs in Fortune 500 companies compared to the Black dollars that impact those companies. So this isn't exclusive to the music industry. We had to get involved because this was the place that we were playing in. But this is simply a reflection of society, which is why we're not just dealing with the labels, we're dealing with policy. One of the things that we are supporting with BMAC, Congresswoman Dr. Barbara Lee introduced a resolution to the House called Res 100, which is the Truth, Racial Healing, and Transformation Commission. And this resolution, when we started, had 77 co-sponsors, and she needed 171 for Nancy Pelosi to bring it to the floor. Right now, we at 169, just mobilizing. And then that sets us up for HR 40, which is the reparations bill that we support from Congresswoman Lee. So we understand that as we fix the music industry, there has to be actively people working and fixing the society, because the industry is simply a reflection of that. So we're making sure that we keeping our eyes on everything and being active in all aspects of it.
And I think it's important to really emphasize that we're not playing a zero-sum game, right? So it's not like if a Black person achieves, then a white person is losing something, right? And I think that's one of the fallacies that our Caucasian brothers and sisters use to mentally say, I can't support this because then I'm going to lose something, right? Collectively. I think, there's been some research done that corporations make more money when they have a diverse staff and they market to the diverse communities, right? So we're not talking about shrinking the pie or taking something away. We're talking about growing the pie. And I think that's the beauty of what BMAC can bring to the table, is that we're trying to help you grow the pie. Let us in so we can give you some insight, because who knows better how to talk to us than us? And let us all help and collectively come together, and we will grow the pie. We've already done it just on the talent side. But if you let Max and Prophet and Amina and Court and 20 more people who are 25 to 30 years old in that same mindset, and then who are all with the new generation and the music, man, everything just changes. And that's how you really methodically go about doing this. It's not going to happen just because people just want to do right. Unfortunately, it's about, we're going to help you grow your money. We're going to help you make your stock more valuable. And that's how I talk to CFOs and CEOs and give them the value proposition of why this is an important initiative that they should support.
Absolutely. And I think that that's, kind of an angle I hadn't heard about, but it makes a lot of sense to me. And I think that, this really kind of leads into the next sort of, topic I wanted to bring up, which was, what advice are you all giving to companies to be more diverse and do a better job? Like when you go in and meet with an organization, like what advice are you giving them? What pillars are you telling them to hit? What numbers are you, guiding them towards?
Well, just as a general statement, if your business is not reflective of the society, then scrap it and let's get to that, right? So if 13 to 15% of your leadership isn't Black, then you're not doing a good job, right? We should be represented by our population in every corporation from a percentage standpoint. So that's the first conversation I have. What does that look like? How many Black people are on the board? How many Black people have true power here, compared to how many? How does the Black dollar impact your business? And that's the conversation that we start really across the board. And you'll be surprised just by posing the question. So many people, just because of this sort of systemic and numbness to racism that this country kind of moves in, up into that 8 minutes and 46 seconds, they act as if they didn't realize that this was even a problem, So when you raise it, it's like, oh shit, yeah, this does make sense. But again, to LaRon's point, we're not just waiting for you to arrive at that point from a human standpoint, right? What we're telling you now is that we're going to move to a place where we're going to help control where we spend our dollars, control where our music and where our creativity is exploited. That's where we're moving to. So if you want to continue to grow your business, to LaRon's point, then it makes sense to kind of do it in a more equitable way, in a more inclusive way, because other than that, we will not continue to allow the culture to continue to be raped and not get a return for it. The day of that concept is over. Even if you look at the traditional music business with the streaming platforms and the ability to release music, and how young people are even getting hot today, is not with the major labels. By the time the major labels come on board, the kids are already streaming off the charts. They don't even the labels don't even deal with you if you don't have that story already going. So already we're moving to a space of independence, just in terms of how we are putting out music today. And so we just got to keep that going. And if companies don't fall in line, to LaRon's point earlier, then you move your business elsewhere. So that's ultimately what we get companies to understand. And it hasn't been a hard sell, especially in this time. Like I said, this is the first time in my life that it's been cool and appropriate in any room to talk about this issue with no apologies. So I think that's an incredible thing. You say, Max?
Yeah, I said on my front, I love what you just said. That's definitely, on a macro level, definitely it works. On my end, I've actually just been taking it upon myself to reach out to executives to ask them, do they know of this executive? Are they aware of this A&R guy? Are they aware of this marketing person? I'm just really trying to make the connection, because sometimes they just don't have the information. And I think once they're informed, they go, oh, okay, cool. And then they set up the interview right away. So I've been taking it upon myself to just really try to be a bridge between the CEOs that I know and the next generation of executives that don't have access to that CEO. So they don't have to go through the normal human resources process and, trying to get that look. I'm making direct connections as much as I can to get them the job.
Max, that's so important. That's so important what you're doing. And that's something that we're even looking at, because the whole idea that there aren't Black execs with the, with the brain power, the genius, and the innate ability to actually, take businesses to another level, act like they don't exist, like there's a shortage, so that's powerful. And I'm happy you're doing that.
Yeah, that's a very powerful thing, Max, because one of the things, Beazley's been getting more calls from corporations who recognize that they need to diversify their ranks, and we're actually helping them identify a pipeline, right? Because no longer we're saying it's no longer acceptable to say I can't find smart people. If you need a smart eye surgeon, or you need a smart, intellectual property attorney, or a smart music executive who's diverse, we can find them. They're out there. You just have to know where to look and be willing to look. And then I would say the second thing to answer your question, Cassie, it's not what we're telling those companies. It's the conversations I'm having with my talent. I'm saying, look, like Prophet said, we're changing the leverage, right? If I can get my talent to separate their money source from their distribution channel and their marketing, and they can get their project launched without needing to go to a record label, then they've created the leverage. And then when we go to a record label or a distributor, if we want to go to a major label distributor, the conversation is different. The ask is different. Their respect is different, because we've now handled things from a different perspective, and we've created leverage. This is about leverage. This is a leverage. This is an economic play. And so we all have to be thinking from that perspective. And sometimes when you don't have that leverage, you can't take as aggressive a stance. So it's important to have those conversations early on in the relationship so you can do that.
I think that right now there are so many successful Black-owned labels, like sub-labels like QC and LVRN, and since the 80s, and Max, what you're doing over there. That is, we're really allowing people to understand, like me, I'm boots on the ground. So now that I'm in these boardrooms, the SVP at UMG and P's in there talking to Lucian directly, and coaches there doing these things, we take it upon ourselves. You know how we are, Prophet, to allow them to understand that you are guests in our culture. So please act as such. You know what I'm saying? Just like when you're a guest in my house, please take your shoes off. Like, this is not your thing. This is our thing. So you need to, we now have a voice to say that. Because, P doesn't change when he sits in front of Lucian, and, I don't change when I sit in front of Monty. So they're getting like a real feel, on what, from people that are really boots on the ground in the culture of what's appropriate and what's not. Like sometimes I have to say, like, that comes across, contrived, or that comes across, that's not the correct way to do things. And it's the first time in a long time that we've had those kind of real conversations. And I think that's important. But my point was to say they're guests in our culture. So you need to act as such.
Yeah, and then I'll follow up on that. The next level of that, Amina, is then going to be, well, who owns the masters? Yeah, we have those, QC has a JV, right. Such and such has a JV, but who owns the masters? Who controls it?
That's
whose stock is going to, QC can't sell yet, right?
This is where you come in. Like all of those arrangements need to be rerouted and changed. You know what I'm saying? Like,
to Amina's point, though, and to your point, it starts with first us understanding our value and power. Exactly. Right? So it's about being able to stand inside that room and understand that Lucian is no different than anyone else, and what their corporations have done actually has hurt the Black community and has ripped from the economics of the Black community in such a way that really, take your shoes off and do the right thing. And to LaRon's point, once we come into that understanding, how we then leverage that power collectively, because QC can maybe try and do it on their own, but what happens if QC, LVRN, since the 80s, Max,
Exactly.
and Courtney Stewart say to everybody,
Right.
this is how we're moving.
Right.
Now we own the masters. Now we own the pipeline. Now we're paying them a piece for marketing, opposed to being on the receiving end of the.
But I was saying that I don't want to take any credit away from Lucian and Monty, because I love Monty to death. They're listening now. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's the point. Like, they're having these conversations. Like, they have to listen. Like, we're making, and I think that's the first time in a very long time when you look back at the contracts of our forefathers, like the greats. You know what I'm saying? Like Little Richard and all these people. Like, I'm talking about like old school contracts. I can't curse. They were terrible. You know what I'm saying? Like, they were like ridiculous when you think about the things and how we've set the stage and rock and roll and jazz and every music genre on the planet. Yeah. And to see that they were big, like I saw somewhere like he got like $2,500 for like one of the, like his biggest hit. Like, what? You know what I'm saying? And then I think, what was it? Michael Jackson acquired back his masters through the acquisition of the Beatles stuff. That's crazy. And we
see how that went. And you see what Mike turned around and did.
So.
But here's the power to what Amina's saying. One of the things that we didn't get into, but one of the missions of BMAC is to deal with those legacy contracts. We have to deal with that. Black artists.
That's a mess.
Black artists' grandchildren receive nothing. Great grandchildren receive nothing. Streaming numbers are going crazy right now, and Black families of these creators are not able to benefit on any level because these ridiculous contracts that were signed in the 20s, 30s, 40s, and 50s. So again, don't tell me that Black Lives Matter and you have legacy artists that great-grandchildren dying. So let's be honest and real and transparent and get to the actual action of changing.
That's just it.
Absolutely. And one thing I just wanted to bring up before we get into answering maybe a couple questions from the chat boxes. I think these were all really, great thoughts about, how companies can do better. Like, what can, let's say somebody isn't at a company or isn't in a position of power, what can we do as individuals to do better with the BMAC initiatives?
I need everybody to vote. I need everybody to understand the power of a vote, because although let this be the last election that we are not at the table properly leveraging our vote
up front.
So yes, vote. Let's remove Trump and get a new administration in, but let's not end there. After November 3rd, let that not be the end of your political awareness. Let's stay politically active, understand the value of our vote, understand that if we don't connect policy to these protests in the summer, we did nothing. The only reason we can look back at John Lewis and look back at King and look back at these things is because there was actual policy changes that came with the frustration and with the protests. So what can we do on an individual level? Understand that we have the power individually. And vote, understand the power of your vote, stay politically active, and join BMAC. You can join us at bmaccoalition.org and stay involved. This is not an organization, although this organization represents the biggest artists and lawyers and producers and managers, but this is a community-based organization, right? So we need people in the community to be a part of this, to feel like they're a part of it, because again, our collective power will bring us so much more.
What I would like for people to do is to educate your children. Because it definitely starts at home. Like, don't teach hate in your house. You know what I mean? Because those children, 2 and 3 and 4 and 5, they grow up to be our future leaders, our future executives, our future billionaires, millionaires, our future mothers and fathers. Like, if you stop that practice from home, because hate is learned. It's not something that, you're born with. So I think that as parents, as teachers, as anybody that interacts with children, nurses, doctors, I don't care what it is. If you interact with a child, I think that we need to push love and, understanding and, those type of things. And I think that would really help us in the future if we start it from home.
One thing I would just suggest, go ahead, Max.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, for those who are not necessarily in the industry and they want to effectuate change, activism starts in your kitchen. Again, educating yourself, and then supporting if you're in the music, you have music interests, supporting your local chapter of NARIS, National Association of Recording Arts and Sciences, right? Because then that from there is who goes to the national, and then there who determines who gets Grammys, and there who determines who gets, the next accolades, right? So start local. Start with your local organizations, and you can have more input there, and you can learn at a grassroots level there, and then you can grow.
Awesome. Well, I think we have time for one more question. And I thought this question was really good that just came in from Fallon. It says, we know Black people and other POC are exhausted. We want to research and bring your voices into conversations where they are missing. How do we know when it's become too much of a burden / tiresome on all of you to keep having to say the same things to every organization you're working with on your behalf? How can we keep you and your mental health at the forefront during this?
Well, I'm just gonna say, for me, it's never tiresome. Like I love this, so I'm never gonna be tired of it. I owe it to my forefathers that actually fought for my rights, and I'm gonna fight, and I'm gonna pass this on as much as I can. So I'm never tired of it.
I mean, although we've all stood on the shoulders of somebody else, I wouldn't be here if I didn't have some really fantastic mentors and some advocates in certain places that were like, no, he's good, he can do it, da da da. So, we have to continue that. We have to look back and get someone else, and we can't get tired. I mean, our ancestors, we can't get tired. We had slaves running from the south to the north.
Come on,
people
Doc.
standing in lines to vote. What do I think about if I'm I'm tired? Are you kidding me? I would feel ridiculous telling them I'm tired. I'm sitting in my office on the 15th floor in Atlanta looking out over the city. What are you talking about? I sound crazy.
It's a burden that we have to bear. That's it. That's what it is.
Tapped on some key things. So I heard this question posed a week ago. I was on the panel, and someone said something, and the answer I thought was so profound. The person said, listen, I just want to be a great ancestor.
Right.
So for me, you can help the mental state by doing your part, like doing your part to help eradicate this thing and fight for the underprivileged and fight for people who have fought for this country, and this country didn't fight for them. But in terms of personally, my mission is to be a great ancestor, and I don't have the right to get tired. I don't have the right to sit back and say I'm not voting because I don't like Biden, I don't like Trump. I don't have the right to do that. When there's real blood on these streets behind people who actually fought and died so that I can. There's parents there's children who grew up without their parents because they was killed so that we can get out here and do this thing. So I don't have the luxury privilege to sit back and talk about being tired or talk about not liking this or liking that. I want to be a great ancestor. I need to do my part. I have to pay it forward. But I appreciate the question and the concern. I pass the court.
Don't worry, Fallon. We'll all get plenty of sleep when we're dead.
Right.
We'll get plenty of rest when we're dead. Don't worry about it.
And our positions and platforms, they come with a responsibility. And I salute all of us for stepping up to the plate, because some people are in this business and they shy away from their responsibility.
Oh boy.
Yeah, music is a universal language. We bring people together. When I go on tour with artists overseas, they can't even speak English, but they can rap every lyric in a song. Music is like a natural resource. So we have to use that same energy and that same voice to bring people together and to bring change, because Black music is culture, point blank, period, all around the globe.
And Courtney, people don't know, Courtney has been doing this work for a long time. And I don't mean to interrupt you, bro, but it's important to because there's a lot of new activists, right? There's a lot of people who are newly into this understanding and consciousness, and I love it. But I also want to salute those who have been doing this and have been paving the way. Courtney's from day one of his success has always had a foundation. He gives homes away to mothers, homes, like a home, houses, yeah. You know, so you watch Khalid sell all these records and travel the world. I sit back and say, damn, Courtney, you got one, man. This guy is all over the place. But then I turn around and watch him giving homes away to mothers. This was before BMAC. You know, so this the beauty of this is that now he has connected with brothers and sisters who feel and think the same way. So now what happens when all of us is moving in that same vein? Come on, man. I just wanted to highlight that, Coy. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
That's powerful. I need to give away some houses like Courtney. Show me how.
Yeah,
Show me how, Courtney. Show me how.
How powerful is that? Like, don't tell me Black Lives Matter.
That's powerful.
You can turn around to a mother who's living in the shelter with their child and turn around and say, here's a deed.
That's powerful. Yeah.
That's not the government. That's not the stimulus check. You know, one of the things that we're doing with the NFL, and we're going to raise $1 trillion to create this endowment fund, because the idea of waiting for people to save us is bullshit. The amount of money that Black people have is enough to change this thing if we collectively pool it. More importantly, if we leverage the power, we're going to force these corporations to do this thing. So that's another topic for another panel. But, you know, financial emancipation is really where we have to move to. That's the real bottom line of all of this. So court starts that by handing somebody a deed. One of the things that one of the greatest part of the American dream is a homeowner. And so many of us are cut out of that dream because of the economic situation that we're forced to be in. So when Courtney is able to say here to a mom, here's a deed, that sets that whole family off to a path of financial freedom if they do the right thing from that point on. So I would love for you to connect with Courtney. We all need to buy a couple houses with him and give them away.
All right, let's do it. I'm down for that.
Well, I think that's a really powerful notion and story to end this lovely roundtable on. Thank you all for doing this today. I really appreciate it. I think everyone here really appreciates it, and looking forward to seeing the amazing things that you all do in the future. I've already done a lot, and I just know that there's a lot more to come. So thank you for everything. And thank you to Music Biz for putting this together and this whole conference together. We all really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Kat.